Hello, I'm Jake Stone,
I'm Jesse Owens.
and we welcome you to another episode of Generally Particular, a production of the London Lyceum. Generally Particular is a show dedicated to discussing and reflecting on the whole Baptist story. We are a show by Baptists, about Baptists, and for Baptists, as well as Anglicans, Methodists, Lutherans, Presbyterians, and yes, even if there are some Baptist-Costals who are listening today. I'm a Calvinist Baptist. Jesse is an Arminian Baptist. In the 17th and 18th centuries, we would have been known as a general Baptist and a particular Baptist. And so we brought those together to create Generally Particular, which we think is a fun show to discuss Baptist history and heritage. We're pleased to present another one of our Jawin episodes. And today we are really honored to have El Presidente, Jordan Steffaniak, the president of the London Lyceum. You know, this show speaks to two things. First of all, if you are a follower of the London Lyceum, you know that Jordan's tagline is we're the only Baptist, confessional, and analytic podcast. Well, today, Jesse and I represent the Baptist and confessional wings of London Lyceum. Jordan is here as the analytic side. And it reminds me in many ways that this is like the GOP. Jordan represents the kind of more elite establishment wing of the party. Jesse and I, the more populist side. But here we are in harmony together. That makes Jordan.
I will take the elitist side, Jake.
Do what now?
I'm the one who's pro-life and who's not changing the party.
Well,
I was about to say, I think I want to change sides.
Well, we're going to say here that Jordan, in a sense, is like Trump, that he brings all the sides together in the party. And so with that introduction, Jordan, welcome to Generally Particular.
Thank you. It is an honor to be on my favorite podcast.
I feel like Jordan is thinking right now, what sort of beast have I created in letting them do this show?
Well, by this point, this is
known what Jake was.
Yeah. This is episode 31, so we've already made it down. You know, we're here. So we are going to just kind of have a fun chat as if we were, well, I would say a coffee shop, but I wouldn't enter one of those. So we'll say at Cracker Barrel, even though Jordan doesn't go there. And so we're going to just kind of have a fun conversation and talk about projects that Jordan's working on, anything that we might discuss in Baptist life, and then end with our favorite segment, Rapid Not Fire, because we are Baptist, Rapid Dunk questions. So, Jordan, kind of tell us, you know, you're the guy that's always asking the questions. So what's going on in your world? What are some kind of projects that you're working on? Because you're always like doing 20 things at one time.
So when you define projects, I'm assuming you're talking about writing projects.
Yeah, writing projects or any real creative kiff and keep shows that you've got on the horizon.
Well, I got a message yesterday. So we've got a landing page on the website that I made to submit questions or whatever. I need to make one for you guys, but I got a question through that to address 1 Timothy 2. Why does everybody want to talk about this? But so apparently I'm going to have to create an episode talking about women pastors and if that's an oxymoron and such. So we'll see how that goes. Actual writing projects would be, I was supposed to be done with my dissertation 9 days ago, and I'm still here trying to finish it. And I'm hopeful to have that done in the next day or two. We'll see if I can get. It's surprising how bad some of my original writing was, and so you're going back through there thinking, what in the world was I doing? This is horrendous. You have to make a decision. Do I Band-Aid this? Do I completely revise it, or do I just kind of live with the way it is? And for the most part, I'm living with the way it is and doing a couple Band-Aids here and there. Other than that, I have a book that I'm co-authoring with my friend Jamie Dew on moral apologetics. And that manuscript is due at the end of the year. So we're trying to get through our draft chapters here in the next 2 months or so we have time to edit those. I have a co-authored book proposal that I'm working on with my friend Derek King on classical theism and the role and nature of tradition and how that should shape or what sort of authority it should have and how it should shape our interpretive strategies of the biblical text. And then I am working on a couple of essays. I have an essay that I am supposed to give at EPS this year on Christology, and I'm trying to engage some criticisms of what would be called sort of like the addition sort of models of the incarnation, where there's been criticisms to say that that's problematic because that implicates God and change and all these other things. And I don't think that follows from the traditional accounts of using Christology as assuming a nature and like adding a nature. I don't think that terminology is problematic so long as you make the necessary clarifications. So just sort of defending some of the more, I guess, I don't know, probably more majority view of the incarnation over the last several hundred years, I would think. So those are some things I'm working on. I also have a spicy piece that I wrote that's like grown to like 4,000 words that I'm trying to find a home for. That is unlike the normal, more academic-y sort of stuff. So we'll see if that ever sees the light of day or not.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Well, I've read it. It was very sermonic from Jordan.
But he said it. But well, I think we might have seen an early draft or we heard it. But he says 4,000 words now. You've seen all 4,000 words. Wow.
Jake saw a later version, but not quite the penultimate.
Okay.
The latest version.
All right.
Jordan, for our audience, what is EPS?
That's the Evangelical Philosophical Society. So that's where they do real theology, but there's a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You go to ETS and there's kind of the EPS folks and they're like, they look at you kind of sad, like you poor people, you know nothing, like you've gone to Vacation Bible School and they're
well, ETS is fine, but like if you look at ETS's publications, it's the Evangelical Biblical Studies like group.
Hey,
and so like if you want to do actual theology, you have to go to EPS.
You're not going to get any pushback from me on that. There's never anything historical, theological in there. So yeah.
But and I mean, I think this is totally in with the doctrinal statement that ETS and EPS have, which is Trinity and the Bible. This is allowable, but there's an officer in the EPS who's an open theist, and so like, however you think about that, I mean, that battle was fought 20 years ago now with others, and couldn't get rid of them because of the doctrinal statement. Which is, depending on what your goal is, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty minimalist, so I guess that's how you end up with that.
I am all in favor of weaponizing creeds and confessions.
That's why Jake. That's the only reason he goes to ETS is so he can weaponize the doctrinal statement.
All I know is that when I have gone, I have sat in some sessions and been very intrigued, and my interests are picked, and then there are some, and I'm like, and it's usually friends that ask me. I go there to support them, and I'm like, I don't have a clue what they are talking about. But
Jake, are you talking about me?
I was about to say, I mean, we went to hear Jordan 2 years ago. I mean, I didn't expect you to just bring him on here to just trash him.
I understood some of what Jordan was talking about. There are some other ones though that I've like, I don't know. And then I looked through the thing and I'm like, why is anybody interested in this? Like, who is even going? But they probably think the same thing about my interest. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say people say the same thing about you.
History has color. There's people involved. This is a lot of abstract ideas that nobody can follow. So,
all right.
Well, we're definitely going to attend Jordan's paper if we can. We're definitely going to be there.
We're not even allowed. Are we allowed at EPS?
Yeah, I've got like an evening session.
Whoa,
man, yeah, it's not cool. Let's see, EP. So I present Thursday at 5:30 p.m.
That's dinner time.
Like, well, me and Jake might be at
no
dinner.
one's going to go to that.
Jake's going to be at the nearest Cracker Barrel. So
we're in San Diego. I'm not. I don't have any. I'm not under any illusions.
I think Bruce Gordon is in like a panel that's going before me in that. So maybe I'll have some like stragglers from the people who are interested in that.
Yeah, I've been in some of those sessions before. The person before me is a well-known name, and I'm like, hey, maybe some of them will stick around, and
they don't.
A lot of them didn't. So, but we're gonna.
I always think about. I'm not allowed to present at the national ETS since I'm a peasant, but when I did go to my first presentation at a regional. I'll always remember that Garrett Walden sat in there and said, you only got preachy twice during the whole thing. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I kept it to a minimum then. So,
you may trash me as elitist. I still have that preachy tone in a lot of the stuff that I write. Even in the book the classical theism book with Lexham, Dan Trier read it to endorse it, and he mentioned in there, he's like, "There's a couple of times where you sound a little bit preachy." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know if I can really change that. That's just kind of my voice."
I still need someone to send me that link to Jordan's that sermon gaff. I
Oh,
googled it.
Oh,
I still
really?
hadn't found it.
Well, you couldn't. You didn't find. Oh, it is gold. If you want to think about, I even know this Seinfeld reference is gold, Jerry. That it is gold.
Do you think we could get Jordan to put this in the show notes? Maybe just a link to it or something
you
like
know, could I do that? Maybe.
that?
Yeah.
Will I
By
do
the
that?
way, people, in case I'm sure everybody that's ever watched this broadcast knows this by now, but the way that the podcast looks as crisp and as good as it does is because of Jordan's editing skills. It's not because Jesse and I put it together,
Oh
because
no.
it's just a challenge enough for us to hit the record button and actually make it through this thing smoothly. So
And
with Jordan
even
on
then, we
here,
usually send Jordan something like, "Hey, can you edit this in 5 different places?"
well, well, there's been a few times you wanted something edited out that I was fine to leave in.
There was one primary time where I said something in a way that I didn't exactly like
Yeah,
how I
let's
phrased it.
tell the audience what it was, Jesse.
All
I don't even
it was
remember.
it was related to me saying you shouldn't do history by going into a document and just hitting Command F. That's all it was. But I
Yes.
stated it in a way that wasn't the best I don't know.
I
way of
liked it.
putting
I thought we should have kept it in.
So you've just given yourself up as a Mac user. So I don't know what that says about you.
That's true. That's true. Are you not a Mac
You
user,
know,
Jordan? What do you use?
a PC, like every common man, like every blue
Oh
collar
wow,
working man.
Jordan's
All
the
I have is a MacBook Air.
from
Well, Jake, what I almost did for this recording is, I'm on my way to work. And I'm driving right next to Whole Foods. I'm like, I should just park
Yeah,
here
you should have.
and record in front of
if
Whole
you had
Foods.
pulled your laptop out with Whole Foods in the background, that would have been golden.
Hey, I would have been vindicated. So,
Uh-oh.
Jordan, since you're on the show, can you tell our audience why in the world did you want Jesse and I to do this program?
Why?
Yeah, why? Why did you think we should do this?
Well, I mean, I think there's a ton of value in having sort of collaborative efforts to promote sort of Catholicity and things of that sort. I think that's part of what we are, like, in a serious way. That's what we're all about, is what we want to promote, um, an agreement upon the fundamental articles of the Christian faith, and to show that we can be friends, and labor together in different ways, outside of our local church context, and do really good work together. And I think it shows both a displays sort of a friendship, but it also displays sort of what we want to be about as an organization. And so, from that perspective, I think it's important, but also to have two premier Baptist historians. Yes, Jake, you are a Baptist historian. Just discussing Baptist things, I think, is important. We don't have a lot of Baptist material, especially on YouTube and other locations. You go on YouTube and you have Eastern Orthodoxy, Roman Catholicism, everything in between, but you don't have anything Baptist as a resource. And I can speak from experience. I know my own brother became an Eastern Orthodox person, whatever you call them, through YouTube. And I'm like, we got to have some actual resources out here, because a lot of people are actually finding their theology here. And so I think both displaying Catholicity, friendship, encouraging people in those ways, but also having real Baptist content is important and really valuable.
That was a really good and kind answer, Jordan. Thank you so much for that.
I
And
know,
that also got me
I
thinking.
I wanted some positive affirmation.
Yeah, you sought it and you got it. We're going to have to do some more hard hitting Baptisty episodes on believers' baptism and regenerate church membership and confessionalism, like Jordan does with Kiffin's Keep. Those hard hitting, no nonsense, state your claim, defend it.
Well, that was one of my best videos when I said, I think partly because of how I titled it, where it was like credo baptism is right and pedo baptism is wrong. It's like, that's a perfect YouTube title. That'll get people to watch.
And here we are over here, just like Baptist bios, and Jordan's like dropping the hammer on Kiffin's Keep.
Well,
We got to up our game, Jake.
Jordan records those at like 1 a.m. in the morning. So he's, I mean, he's in like, he's been drinking all of the Monster energy drinks. And
I would never drink a Monster. That's bad for you.
Actually, my favorite thing from Monster is the Monster Java. That is a really mocha, the Monster Mocha Java. Those things are good. That's what fuels me through Hebrew and Greek in class time in the past.
And then you text all of us and say, "Man, I just had a great coffee. Let me tell you about it."
Because it said it was coffee. It has Jawin has coffee beans on the can.
This is actual real coffee that I just brewed this morning, and it's just black like it should be. But Jake, the thing is, you have to find like good coffee. Like I understand if you go to the gas station and you pour out this like battery acid, whatever it is, like yeah, that does not taste good. No one thinks that tastes good. That's just because I don't know. You must be like sleepwalking trying to get that. If you get real good coffee, it tastes very good, and you know this by when it starts to cool and it's no longer hot, and the heat can no longer like
Burn your mouth.
overcome the actual flavor. When it starts to cool and it tastes good, then you know you've got good coffee. So you need to just go to a good place and get some real coffee that tastes good, and maybe you'll change your mind over time.
Well, a few things. First of all, I don't go inside gas stations, okay? Unless it's Buc-ee's. That's the only one that I go inside. Second of all, it's too darn hot to be drinking coffee. Third, this stuff's expensive in these places around here. I've been in the coffee shops. I go to Fonte's, which Fonte's the best thing that I've been there in a long time.
Oh, no.
But the best thing that they had there was their cookie crumble frappuccino.
And they get rid of it?
No, they didn't get rid of it. It's just it got expensive. I mean, Joe Biden's made that sucker go up from $5 to $8 since I've been here in Louisville. So,
hey, is the Cafe Founders by the bookstore? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, you have Scholars is connected.
Scholars
to the bookstore, and then you have Founders is down the hall.
Is the little cafe down the hall, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So so do you get like a staff discount at Scholars?
First of all, I'm not staff.
Oh.
I don't qualify for that. So I get because I'm a student or a worker. I don't have to pay taxes, so I save 70 cents maybe.
I forgot about that. They don't make you pay taxes.
You know what I tell you what I usually get when I go to Scholars is a pastry. I love the blueberry scones. I love the blackberry Danish, and sometimes I'll really splurge and get a cinnamon roll.
Oh, Jesse, I think you've been here. Is Sola Coffee here in Raleigh, and they have these like little miniature donuts.
Yeah.
And man, to get coffee with these like little mini cinnamon donuts is just exquisite.
I went there on Jordan's recommendation and got a cup of coffee and I don't know, 5 or 10, 12 of those little donuts. And my brother actually went with me and we split them and they were fresh and hot. I don't know of anywhere else that does that. That's really unique.
It's very unique. Yeah. And their atmosphere is really nice. They got a lot of outdoor seating, which I like.
They do. It almost has kind of a coastal vibe. It's nice. Jake would like it. He would only eat the donuts, but he would go.
Hey, I love good donuts. I love sweets. I will make no. I tell people I am not ashamed to say that I prefer my coffee the way that I prefer my tea, cold and sweet.
Now I like whenever I go to the UK, I'll get tea and I'll put the milk in it or whatever, and it tastes very good. It's a delightful little experience.
Jordan, just to bring this up since you're on the show, what our listeners really want is a London Lyceum / generally particular English Baptist history tour. So if you can put that on the docket somewhere, maybe 2030, something like that, something we can work towards.
If we can get some people to put in their upfront payment on these things.
Yeah.
Non-refundable.
Yeah, that's right. If we can get people to pony up non-refundable $8,000, we'll be good to go.
Deposit. We're anticipating inflation to occur, so just go ahead and hedge your bets.
Well, we need to get some get some good funding, from unknown sources, like plenty of other folks out there. So
we need money is what we need.
Jake, well, here's how you get money. You just talk about the cool stuff and the culture, and then you can get lots of money. And you can say whatever you want.
If you want to launch a London Lyceum politics podcast, I'm ready.
That might honestly, Jordan, that might be the answer.
That should be
if we really want to fund this thing.
People have to pay for that.
Yeah, we get Jake doing his political commentary and hot takes, and that
the daily with Jake Stone.
Yeah. I like the idea.
This could be like an Al Mohler. This is your opportunity to become Al Mohler 2.0.
Yeah.
Since I am both a student and employee of Southern Seminary, I will not respond do that. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and make a friendly wager here. Do either one of you think Joe Biden will not be on the ballot in November? Yes or no?
If he's alive, he's on the ballot.
This is tough because it is like people have said, like those coaches who say, I am not going anywhere. And then the next day they're, at some other place.
What, Texas A&M's baseball
Yeah.
coach, didn't he do that like a couple weeks ago?
Right. So it feels a little like that, where it's like, Joe was on Morning Joe yesterday and he was like, I'm not going anywhere, but I feel like I could wake up tomorrow and he might be somewhere else. But I also get the sense, kind of like Jordan was saying, that I don't know. I don't think he plans on backing out.
I'm with Jordan. I think if he's still breathing, he will be on the ballot. I do think it makes a lot of implications about how do we steward well when it is time to leave a post in leadership and succession and all that stuff. And frankly, a lot of people do not do very well with that, because especially when you have real power, you don't want to give it up at all.
Well, if somebody's been doing something for 30, 40 plus years and they've accumulated that amount of power, they have a lot of yes men behind them. They also have a lot of like identity issues with like, that's who they are fundamentally, is this, whatever it is that they're doing. And so that makes it just extremely difficult to step away whenever that time comes, because you just don't want to.
All right, Jake, we need to ask Jordan some Baptist questions.
Yeah. So Jordan, what is your favorite Baptist history book?
Oh man, that's a tough one. You didn't say like what's your favorite Baptist theologian or historical figure. It's pretty specific.
So history book, I could just trigger you and say Orthodox Radicals by Matthew Bingham. I do like that book. I think it's very well written, very well done.
Why would that why would that trigger us, Jordan?
Well, that triggers Jake.
Oh, it triggers Jesse too. He's just a little more subtle about it, but don't let him fool you.
I might be the one who triggered Jake. I don't know. That could be my fault.
I will agree that it's very well researched and written. Disagree with the conclusions, but
disagree with the thesis. That doesn't mean it's not well researched.
Yeah, no, it's very well researched.
I think it's a bit. Greg Wills used to always say, you want to make a big argument. Well, the book makes a big argument, and clearly, plenty of people have had to consider it and reckon with it. So, on that front, I think it does a great job.
Yeah, I think it's well written, well articulated, and it's an academic standard monograph, which unfortunately, a lot of our Baptist history textbooks are aimed like a tier below that. And I think that's unfortunate for the continued strength of Baptist history. We need more material that's on that next level.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I wonder if a lot of that stuff is written for, the classroom or lay people. Yeah. So that's probably a big part of it, is thinking about it being used in college or seminary classrooms and pastors reading it. So not as much Oxford, studies in historical theology. But
so like the very first Baptist history textbooks I read were Tom Nell's 3 volumes from Christian Focus.
Yeah. You didn't say those though.
I almost did, because they have a very formative impact on my life.
Yeah, well,
they're right here. I brought them out. I usually have them under my pillow at night, but I put them back up here on the shelf for this.
All right.
I would really love to see them though reprinted. I do think they could, in a maybe a different
reformatted.
Reformatted and stylistically.
Jordan understands that. He cares about aesthetics.
Yeah. Yes. He was trained well at Southern.
Their obnoxious style guide that they want to do their own thing in every little aspect.
Having done an MDiv and a PhD there, it's like in my bloodstream now. So I just assume everyone else who thinks anything else is wrong. I just think like, well, the Southern Seminary style guide. And then Jake says, well, yeah, the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. So
Everybody should follow suit.
That's
I mean, Midwesterners should stop trying to chart their own path and get in line as the little brother.
that's right. That's right. The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary.
Jordan said that, not me. But
Yeah, yeah. Only one of us is.
seminary should have priority and preeminence. What do you mean?
No, I agree. I tell people all the time.
It's the flagship.
I work at the James Pettigrew Boyce Centennial Library at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. I sometimes answer the phone that way. Not often, because it is a mouthful. But I want people to recognize and know what this is, the institution.
Now, I will say, Southern's campus is amazing. However, Southeastern does definitely have a claim to having the best campus.
You mean Wake Forest campus?
Yes, and that's because they were able to claim Wake Forest College's previous campus, which you can still see the seal.
It didn't hurt
if you walk in the main building.
Yeah, it's still up there. Yeah.
So they've got those giant magnolia trees all over, and it's a really nice campus.
That's a really fair point. It does have a nice campus. Not everywhere has.
It's a very nice campus. No, I agree.
Not everywhere has a great quad. I've been to some of the Southern Baptist seminaries. Not as nice of a quad.
Me and Jesse have been at one that layout was interesting.
Yeah, but Southeastern and Southern, great campuses. Yeah. All right, Jordan. Let's get some more Baptist questions. Do you have any favorite Baptist historical figures, pastors, theologians, otherwise?
Well, John Bunyan, of course.
yeah. Particularly,
one thing that people should always remember about Jordan, I was surprised that he didn't have a presentation for us on the whiteboard, is because we did a roundtable thing one time where it was supposed to be a nice, friendly chat about membership and communion, and we all get on there, and Jordan's got a 30-slide PowerPoint presentation to open us up with, and I'm like, good night, what is this?
It was very analytical.
It was, but you know what? But you know what? The people. See, I'm concerned about the people. The populace, and most of them thought that I was right. So that's what counts.
What?
No, that's fine.
Was that Jordan's defense of open communion? Is that what it was?
Open communion, open membership. Why is a Bunyanite, Jesseite?
Yeah.
That's why. By the way, that's why he likes this book.
Because Henry
Jesse's on the front. His theological forebear.
Yeah. The truth is, Jake, that's why I'm on this show, is because Jordan thought I would come on and defend open membership and open communion. I am the Bunyanite for this show.
I don't even remember what my question was now. I know I said something about John Bunyan.
Yeah, who's your favorite Baptist historical figure?
My actual favorite Baptist historical figure, I don't feel like I have one. I've gone through phases where I've really appreciated different figures, but I've never really attached myself to one in particular.
Give us a few.
I really like John Gill. I really like Charles Spurgeon. I know some of these are obvious names, but there's been periods where I've really benefited from them. I read Spurgeon's Evening and Morning, and then his Treasury of David quite a bit after college, and found a lot of value in that. And even Gill over the last several years, where I've spent a significant amount more time reading him and engaging his ideas and thoughts, and realizing that he's an incredible intellectual powerhouse for what he did. And I mean, pastoring for 50 years, and then the amount of primary source material and languages that he knows is just insane. So I've benefited from figures like that. Though it is unfortunate that him and Jonathan Edwards have this weird outlook on life where they both just seem to hate life.
That, by the way, this would have been John Gill's look at that presentation from Jordan on communion and membership.
I have no doubt.
Hey, my thought is that's what hyper-Calvinism will do to you right there. That's what it'll do to you. Although Garrett's not here to defend John Gill, so I'll back off.
There's a whole ETS panel thing or session on Gill.
Though, it's funny, we go back to our Baptist historical figures, but I think we're living potentially in a golden era when we look back 100 years from now, 200 years from now, when we're looking on Baptist history to say, look at all of these great Baptist theologians and historians. We have Michael Haken, we have Tom Nettles. We have a plethora and a treasure, I think, of resources that we're living in right now. Not in the sense that they're the greatest theologian or pastor since the apostolic era, but Sorry, it just came to me.
By the way, before you continue, I actually thought this was going to take a different turn from the beginning, where you were going to say we have some of the greatest Baptist institutions, like leadership institutions. But
Oh well, that
The
too.
gold,
There
it
you
is
but
go.
the
anyways,
golden
so
age.
so
There,
it took a more serious turn. So go ahead and continue.
you can't call something. You can't just call something leadership and have leadership. Like that requires years and decades of actual rolling up your sleeves work in real life and not keyboard warring.
Yeah.
So
But it's one of those things like if you get the word there, can you make the thing itself appear? So
if you have to say it, then you don't have
yeah,
it.
yeah. I remember someone saying one time, if you have to tell people you're in charge, you're probably not in charge. If you have
No,
to
that's
tell
it.
people you're a leader, you're probably not the leader.
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people thought about Joe Biden's tweet this week, where he said, "I am the president."
That's exactly right. That's exactly
You
right.
got to say that you are. Makes us wonder, is it you or is it or is it Dr. Jill who's actually controlling?
Well, we've all know. I mean, Joe's not there mentally. We've known that for how long now? I mean, at least 2
Jesse
years.
says
It's
it's
been very
Barack
clear.
Obama is running the White House.
Michelle, come on.
Yeah. It's somebody's pulling the puppet strings, like
And it's clearly not Kamala Harris.
Oh,
it's clearly not.
let's not go
It's
there.
clearly not.
Oh.
This show gets more and more political with every single episode.
Yeah,
but-
the FBI will be after us for long. So
So Jordan was saying, and I agree, like maybe we're potentially in maybe we know it some now, but at least in retrospect, maybe we'll see this as kind of like a golden era, kind of a renaissance Baptist history and historical theology.
I mean, Mark Dever. I mean, you're going to look back on. I mean, the amount of pastors that man has trained is incredible.
Yeah.
The influence and impact he will have on the Baptist movement over the next century is I don't know if you can count it.
It is fascinating to think about someone like Mark Dever. Guy gets a PhD at Cambridge, writes on Richard Sibbes, and then just goes into pastoral ministry, raises up like an army of pastors that go out and start and pastor and plant churches and all sorts of things, and puts out tons of material that he's co-authored, but not a lot of critical essays, just stuff for the church. Like guy gets a Cambridge PhD and just reproduces pastors and literature for the church. I mean, it really is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, how many people have not been touched by Mark Dever's ministry? I don't know.
All right, here's a trivia question for y'all then. So when he was installed as pastor at CHBC, do you know who the two men he had come preach 2 sermons that day at his installation?
I really hope one of them was Al Mohler.
No.
No, Carl Henry was there.
He was there, but he did not. No, he was not he didn't preach. The 2 sermons.
I feel like I know one of
the
them.
2 sermons were given. One was from Timothy George.
Oh,
yeah.
And the other was D.A. Carson.
I think I knew that.
And they're both actually I've listened to both of them in the past. They're actually very good, really good sermons on the church and ministry. I think about it sometimes kind of in my circles a little bit. I'm I'll say more of the, what I would consider 1689, that whole kind of world. I think those are 2 guys that you usually don't get talked about very much. I mean, I would have differences with both of them. I respect Timothy George a lot, but I wouldn't really care about going and seeing the Pope, but that's just me. And I would have some disagreements with D.A. Carson on some matters. But I think both of those men are 2 gifts that have come out of kind of, a broad Baptist, contribution. I mean, D.A. Carson on biblical theology is always so rich and so good. And then, Timothy George has done so many things in church history and Baptist history.
I mean, Timothy George, he needs to be mentioned alongside Michael Haken and Tom Mills without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's incredibly influential and important for the retrieval of Baptist life.
One of the things I appreciate about Timothy George is, minus whatever Jake thinks about the Pope thing, he was kind of, and Luke Stamps and Matt Emerson and those guys over at Center for Baptist Renewal. I mean, they're kind of, they've studied under him and he's influenced them a lot, but he's definitely was doing Baptist Catholicity, certainly among evangelicals, but even outside of that, before it was cool. And he's the kind of guy that I feel like even reading some of his history stuff on Baptist history stuff, he goes where he thinks the information leads him, and I really respect that. So yeah, I think you're right. We need to mention Timothy George alongside these other folks.
I think it's amazing, like the context that he's been in, where it would probably be more hostile to a more traditional sort of like evangelical Baptist life in a lot of ways. He's like never been embarrassed by any of that. He just kind of says what he thinks and lays it out there and does it in a cheerful way. And I just really respect that.
Yeah.
By the way, I think one of the best pieces, if anybody's not read this from him, he wrote this, I think, in 1999 or 2000 about the ghosts that haunt the SBC. And it was about Campbellism, landmarkism, and then I'm forgetting right now off the top of my head what the third one. But basically, his stuff that he wrote in that essay is still just as applicable in many ways today, 25 years later, as it was then. I also love that in the original edition of Baptist Theologians that he and David Dockery edited together, that they got the idea of the book and everything was from one of the trips, because they would take trips out to Cave Hill. And that was kind of, there. And I can also testify that going out to Cave Hill inspires me. 2 times. And,
Jake, I've never been to Cave Hill. You know that?
Wow. Jordan, how long did you live in Louisville?
I think I was there for a total of 5 years. So I left for a year and then came back. But I think I was there for a total of 5 years.
5 years and no trip to Cave Hill.
That means you need to come to Louisville and let me take you on my tour of it. And no, I think it should be required. I think not that it required that people go out there with me, but I think it should be required that people at least go out there and if you teach a class, to take your students out there.
Well, like it should be required that a Baptist seminary requires an ecclesiology course and a 90-hour MDiv.
Yeah, I agree.
Like how can you not take a course on the fundamental nature of who you are as a Baptist? I mean, I know you have like the Baptist Heritage and Mission, but like that was kind of like a weekend add-on.
Yeah, that was just a way of promoting the cooperative program.
Yeah.
There are those of us trying to have ideas.
I just say that as an outsider who took the class. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, for all the hate the cooperative program gets, it really is a genius idea to be able to pool resources together to create greater institutions and be able to send missionaries and stuff. So it is a great idea. There are obviously all sorts of problems that come with pooling large amounts of money together, because then you have people who want that money.
Yeah,
it definitely needs to be reformed. I don't think there's any doubt. There's a lot to be commended of it, but there's also a lot of ways in which it's a lot of the mechanics and organization are stuck in a bygone era, and there really needs to be some serious reform and transparency. I don't disagree at all with those who think that there should be more transparency. But sure. I would say that it is kind of interesting if you're going to call for transparency from some organizations, but then you're not too crazy about being transparent with your own organization. So
if you're a nonprofit organization, you should be willing to be transparent. If your shareholders or your board members or whoever it is that like is fundamentally in power tells you be transparent, you have no choice but to be transparent.
Yeah.
Like me and Jesse can both testify, we do this as a labor of love. It is not because it's not because I remember sometime when somebody found out that I was that I serve as a junior fellow for the Andrew Fuller Center here on campus, they said, "How much do they pay you for that?" And I said, "It's just because I love Baptist history that I'm a part. I don't see any money for that."
Clearly, anyone who does anything in like sorts of circles, that we probably all do things in, writing and otherwise, if you think there's a lot of money in it, or quite frankly, really any money in it, you're deceiving yourself. Yes. In fact, Jordan can testify from, basically overseeing the London Lyceum. Not only do you not make money, it usually costs you money. It is pay to play basically to keep things rolling.
That Andrew Fuller volume we published, we have not made a single dime on that. We are in the hole on that, and I fronted that personally so that volume would get out there. So we have not made it. We've lost money on producing that volume, and I think, but that's, to me, that doesn't matter. I want to produce quality resources that gets in the hands of people, and that's part of the purpose of it. So hopefully, we'll have volumes that can subsidize those other volumes that we know won't make any money, but we think are really important to have in the hands of people.
Well, that's why we've got to get our volume out on critical race theory. That's where it's at.
Jake, that's old news. It's time to move on.
That's so 2019. New. Yes.
Yeah. I thought we were going to do one on Baptist and environmentalism, but I guess that.
I mean, yeah,
that's time. Carbon credits? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the gospel.
It's
Have you not heard?
Jordan would be the perfect spokesman for that.
Don't get me started on those things.
Jesse wants to drive one of those ugly Tesla trucks or whatever it is.
Oh, man, yeah. Now, I will say the electric GMC truck, I think that's pretty nifty, like, because it can fold down the back seats to where it like becomes even a longer bed.
Yeah.
I think that looks pretty cool.
Well, if they could start making these things, not be $100,000, I, might be a little more interested. But
well, I mean, you would think it'd be cheaper if all their materials are coming from China.
You would think.
I'm for oil and gas. So
yeah, in fact, just on our previous episode, Jake was saying drill, baby, drill. So
that's right. That's right. All right. Well, at this time, we're coming to the end. It's time for our rapid dunk questions.
Ooh.
And so, Jordan, you just answer it. There's no qualification, no nuancing. Yep. We're not worried about nuance in this round. We just want answers.
That's the other podcast from the London Lyceum.
Yeah.
Here, we're not concerned about nuance.
I'm not caring about nuance. All right. So, when it comes to sermons, preaching, manuscript or outline?
Hybrid. Manuscript / like I do point.
First question, and he disobeyed.
Okay, if I have to pick, I'm going to go manuscript.
Okay, there you go.
40 minutes, more or less?
Less.
All right. G2 or fountain pens?
G2.
He didn't listen to some classes at Southern, obviously.
No, I didn't.
He did not. He did not go into the old Edgars, and pick up.
Once again, I am the common man. I am not the man who wants to dress up all nice.
But he just threw out there about when he goes to England, folks. Yeah. Okay.
As if it were a regular.
Yeah, like it's a regular holiday spot. All right. English Baptist or American Baptist?
English Baptist.
See a theme here, folks. All right. Gill or Spurgeon?
Spurgeon.
Dag or Boyce?
Boyce.
Mullins or Norris?
Mullins.
Calvin or Owen?
Owen.
Hesitated there.
Yeah, I don't. That's difficult.
All right. Now this is the one I'm really interested in. Aquinas or Fuller? Be careful how you answer this question.
I would probably have to go Fuller.
Jordan's a smart man. He knows. All right.
There are a lot of other medieval resources, and I can give up one.
Oh. Okay. I was going to say, is this because the London Lyceum is reprinting some Fuller? But he just told us, hey, we're still underwater on the Fuller volumes. He's like, definitely.
We need to start printing Aquinas since he's the flavor of the day. All right. Now we get into some of the more non-spiritual ones. IHOP or Waffle House?
And those are both terrible options. Waffle House.
Cracker Barrel or Applebee's?
Applebee's.
Wow.
Papa John's or Domino's?
Domino's.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's, I don't know.
Walmart or Kroger?
Kroger.
All right, and then last but not least, should a person highlight and mark their books or not?
Absolutely.
I've got one.
Pencil.
Pen.
All right, there you go.
We need to know Whole Foods or Sprouts.
Oh, what is Sprouts? Difficult. That sounds like something from California.
Sprouts has better material, better quality goods. However, Whole Foods offers the very nice Amazon pickup option, which is hard to beat.
Yeah. Jake, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, man.
No, I go to the neighborhood Walmart. And then if I really have to make an emergency run, it's the dirty Kroger. which you do not want to go in after 8 o'clock, because I'm going to
You don't want to go in, period.
Sights in there.
Well, for Jordan's sanity and his family, and I'm sure his wife, we probably ought to let him write his dissertation. We better let him pull out those Band-Aids to put on his dissertation.
Well, we do thank Jordan. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I've said what if I get in trouble, I get in trouble.
Okay.
He can edit this episode. So.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Well, we do thank you. Thanks, Jordan, for joining us for this Jawin episode, and we thank you for listening to another episode of Generally Particular. And as we always like to close with, stay Baptist, our friends.
Stay Baptist.